Let's go ahead and get started here today. So I posted a video in lieu of Wednesday's class. Didn't go quite as expected. I was hoping to talk about this load balancing stuff on Wednesday, but the internet access in the iLab was a little bit broken. I have provisioned out a vApp for everybody in the class. So moving forward, we might need multiple VMs to work on things. Inside this vApp, you should see 4 Ubuntu VMs. So working on load balancing, you can see over here on the right, I do have this image. I'm going to pull up the iLab interface in a bit just to show you kind of what I'm expecting. The one thing that I want to reiterate from the video again yesterday is when we're working in the iLab, I might log into the actual interface and look at your VMs and just poke around a little bit and make sure everything's configured correctly. So if for some reason you aren't doing these labs in the iLab, which is all right, I guess, just let me know so I don't log in and see no progress. So anyway, we're going to talk about load balancing. So again, the thing that we've been working on for a couple weeks now is kind of moving into web stuff, moving into WordPress, moving into load balancing WordPress. So this is going to be our eventual setup. We're going to try and do a very basic this today. So we're going to use Ubuntu 1, which is going to receive the requests. It's either going to forward that request to Ubuntu 2 or Ubuntu 3, and then eventually Ubuntu 2 or Ubuntu 3 would use Ubuntu 4 as the database server. So the reason we might want to do this is, let's say you have a WordPress site that has a lot of users, people are going to it very frequently, or any other application. WordPress just happens to be a typical open source application that's really nice to deploy, nice and easy. And your servers are overloaded, you might want to route the requests between multiple servers and have multiple servers actually processing that application logic. And this setup is pretty good for doing that. So today what I hope to accomplish is install Nginx on Ubuntu 1, install Apache on Ubuntu 2 and Ubuntu 3, kind of getting ready to do all this WordPress stuff, and then just show some of the configuration options and show some of the challenges that we'll run into in this load balanced environment. So if you haven't seen it already, this is our vApp. It should be CIS 462, should be somewhere in the name there. We got a whole bunch of VMs. I actually have a few good tidbits in the video about how to interact with all of this stuff. We have 2 GUI clients that I kind of recommend you using by default. We have this Xubuntu box here. We have this Windows 7 box here. And I'm just going to use those to show some of the web requests as they go through. So what I'm going to do is just get us 3 tabs here just to start off with. I'm going to log into Ubuntu 1. And I'm going to try and make this bigger. There should be a zoom somewhere in here. I'll have to go into the preferences and change font size, I guess. 1 second here. Okay, we're going to try one more time.
I think Mike usually does it at like
20. Alright, that seems about right. So I'm on my Ubuntu 1 box here. Go to Ubuntu 2. And then Ubuntu 3. And as I said, maybe I didn't turn that on yet. DNS is a little bit weird, but DNS is always a little bit weird. Oh shoot. And I just rebooted it by accidentally pushing Control-Alt-Delete, I think. No, never mind. I guess it just locks it. Okay, so we're good to go. So Ubuntu 1, I'm just going to start out. We're going to install Nginx on Ubuntu 1, Apache on Ubuntu 2, and Ubuntu 3. So let's just go ahead and do that. And then we'll just navigate to each of those to make sure it's actually functioning. So I'll just kick off the install on all of these. It's not booting. Did you start the pfSense box first? Yeah, so definitely. So there's a few things about this environment that are a little bit tricky. Definitely take a look at the video, but you need to start the pfSense box first, basically.
So we have to turn off and turn back on.
You might want to do that, yeah. The other thing is you're going to hit the captive portal, so you need to go into a web browser and hit the captive portal and log in. So there we go. We got it installed on all of our boxes. So if I navigate to their names, Ubuntu 1, we can see we got Nginx on Ubuntu 1, Ubuntu 2. We got our Apache default page as expected, and we got Ubuntu 3. So that's pretty straightforward. So in order to demonstrate some of this load balancing stuff, again, we're going to take requests from Ubuntu 1 and forward them to Ubuntu 2 or Ubuntu 3. There's some configuration directives we can look at to actually configure how that load balancing is actually going to take place. But it's worth creating some files with some different content on each server so we can see which files we're actually getting in response. So I'm going to go on Ubuntu 2 and Ubuntu 3. Just go over to our var html folders. And what I'm going to do is just create data.txt or txt. And I'll just say this is Ubuntu 1, or shoot. Now I can't push this. I can push escape, but not in full screen mode. This is Ubuntu 2, in that data.txt there. And I'm going to go over to Ubuntu 3. Do the same thing. This is Ubuntu 3. Was to go over to web browser and navigate to data.txt. We can see Ubuntu 3 gives this is Ubuntu 3. Sorry, it's a bit small there. Bump this up. This is Ubuntu 3. What's the password on what? So all the Ubuntu. It's all in the video. All the Ubuntu ones are well, generally speaking, all the boxes are username, DSU, password, password1 exclamation point. But again, I'd highly recommend only logging into the Xubuntu one through the GUI. I do have SSH keys on here already, so you can log into everything just real nice. You can see this is Ubuntu 2. So when we're going about doing this, we should see this Ubuntu 3 and this Ubuntu 2 coming from our actual Nginx server. So going back to that, we just got this welcome to Nginx page right now. And we're going to use a couple different directives to do things. So the first way we're going to do this is we're going to proxy our requests from our Nginx server to just Ubuntu 2. So there's going to be no load balancing or anything like that. So in order to do that, what we do is go ahead and log into our Ubuntu 1 box, go over to our Nginx directory. Remember, we have this sites enabled thing right here. We'll look at our default one real quick. And this one's got a lot of comments, a lot of stuff that I just really don't care about. So what I'm probably going to do is actually just delete this default site. So I'm just going to rm default, Remember, the way that both Apache and Nginx worked is our actual data is stored in sites available, and there are symbolic links from sites enabled over to the data in sites available. So when I'm deleting something in sites enabled, it still exists, so we could very easily re-enable that. And I will go over to sites available, and I will make a new one. So I'll just say vim, what should we call it? Proxy. We'll call this proxy. So we're going to need this basic server directive. So that's the basic directive in any of our configurations. And this is what we're going to basically do. We're going to say listen on port 80. And for any path, basically, is just the location /. We're going to proxy pass to our backend server. So forget about the rest of it for right now. We're going to do a very basic proxy configuration. So server listen 80. Give me 1 second here. Proxy, so listen on 80, location /, and we will proxy pass to Ubuntu 2. So this will forward all of our requests that are coming into Ubuntu 1 to Ubuntu 2. So we got to go and enable that site then. So we go over to sites enabled. And there might be an Nginx command to do this automatically to make this symbolic link, but what I'll just do is I'll just do it manually. So again, the syntax of ln is target then link name. So we're going to target this site's available proxy and then symbolic link it right here. Target link name. Oh shoot. Proxy. Target link name. Oh, I messed something up. I think I replaced my directory with the link instead because I'd use that period. It's just proxy. Oh, I'm using ls. ln is the command to link, of course. ln proxy. So now I cat proxy. And we can see we got our basic configuration file right there. So I do systemctl reload nginx. Systemctl reload nginx. And there was some issue there, so I'm just going to follow their advice here and check that out. Couldn't find Ubuntu 2. Whatever. So the DNS is a little bit messed up. I had been trying to fix the stupid DNS in this setup for a long time, but I just haven't gotten. It just hasn't worked. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that Ubuntu 2 off there. I'm just going to put in the IP address instead. So 192.168. It should be 1.22. So Ubuntu 1 is at 21. Ubuntu 2 is at 22, and so on and so forth. And there we go. Now we got it running perfectly fine. So before, when we navigated to Ubuntu 2, we got this welcome to Nginx page that was actually served from our Ubuntu 1. Sorry, when we navigated to Ubuntu 1, now we got this welcome to Nginx page. Now when we navigate to Ubuntu 1, again what should be happening is it's going to forward our requests off to Ubuntu 2. So we can see we got the Apache 2 default page. So if we go to data.txt, we can see this is Ubuntu 2. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. So what we're going to do now is expand this to use this upstream directive block to actually add multiple servers into the mix. So when we're doing this multiple server thing, we have a couple different directives that we can use to determine where the actual request is going to be routed to. So we have this least con directive, we have this IP hash, and we have round robin. So what least connection does is Nginx will route the request to the server that has the least requests pending currently. What round robin will do is it will route requests to each server in order. So if a request comes in, it'll go to server 1. If another request comes in, it'll go to server 2 and server 3, then back to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Least connection, again, it would pick whatever server hasn't been used the most, but IP hash is typically the one that we would want to use. And what that would do is it would always route connections from the same IP, the same source IP address, to the same server. So when we get into WordPress, IP hash is going to be very important because there's actually going to be session data stored on our application servers. So a particular application server for, let's say, just this particular user, always would have to go to Ubuntu 2. If there was a different user, it would always have to go to, again, Ubuntu 2. Or if there's another user, it might always have to go to Ubuntu 3, because that's where the session data is stored. And when we're getting into WordPress, we'll look and see why that is and what we can do about that. So we're going to demonstrate these directives. So I'm going to go back into my Nginx configuration right here. And we're going to go outside of our server directive and add this upstream directive. Let's say round robin right now. Robin. Then we're going to say server. I'm going to continue using the IP addresses since I think DNS might be a little bit broken. 23. Alright, and then we just replace our, actually I need to give that a name, servers. I'll just call it upstream servers. And then we just replace our IP address down here with servers. Alright, so let's test this out. Reload. Of course, I messed something up again. Oh, round robin's actually the default. So there's no configuration directive for round robin, it's just the default configuration. And there we go. So now, when we go here to data.txt, we should hopefully see something interesting. You might have to disable the cache. So we got Ubuntu 2, we got Ubuntu 3, Ubuntu 2, 3, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So it's just bouncing each request. Every other request it gets basically goes to a different server, which is kind of interesting. So let's just change this to least con really quick. I don't think we should see any difference in this environment. Or we might always, in this case, we might always send to Ubuntu 1 first. So just for reference, this is Ubuntu 1, and this is Ubuntu 2. But I don't think we should get any different results in this setup. Okay, so it's still going to round robin it a little bit. You can see we did get one that was... Can occasionally get one that goes to 3 twice. but there's very little traffic, obviously, in the setup. It's just us, but with perhaps hundreds of or thousands of users, that would have some different results. So the final thing that we want to look at is that IP hash. So we're going to change that to IP hash. And then what we should see is when we navigate to our Ubuntu One box on this host, we're going to always be routed to a specific server. Reload Nginx. So we see we go to Ubuntu 2, and we're still at Ubuntu 2 forever now. So when I go over to Windows 7 here, this other box, and go to Ubuntu 1, which I think might be broken on Windows, so I might have to navigate to the IP address. Yep, it is. Well, yeah, it's broken on Windows, so I'll just navigate to the IP address. 21 for Ubuntu 1. We got to our Apache page there, data.txt. And we see we actually still got routed to Ubuntu 2. But basically what's going to happen is that's going to be the same, and it's going to balance your clients, your users, over these two servers, but it's going to make sure that they're always routed to that particular server, again, for application information, for session information, especially with PHP. On WordPress, let's say you log in to a server, you log into your WordPress, that session cookie is actually going to be stored on either Ubuntu 2 or Ubuntu 3. So if you're changing back and forth between the two, there's no synchronization of the session storage. So you'll have to use this IP hash directive to do all of this. So let's see here. I think that's about all I had for today, actually. The final thing that I'll say is, well, so eventually we're going to probably just quickly install WordPress. On Monday we're going to install it on Ubuntu 2 here and Ubuntu 3. And then we'll go into Ubuntu 4, we'll install our database, we'll turn on remote access, and we'll configure all of that. We'll have a lab working on these type of things that will be due not this coming Sunday, but the Sunday after that. So start digging into this. It should be relatively straightforward, I think, from a setup standpoint. I mean, there's a couple servers here. The directives for running all this stuff in Nginx are super simple, but you do have to remember what the differences are between these directives and what they will end up doing. So yeah, that's all I got for you today. So have a good weekend. Stick around if you have any questions on the labs.